Have you
No, it is.
enjoyed, obviously you enjoyed your time in Dallas. I'm not going to say that. But, when you get to Houston, is it vastly different than your time in Dallas whenever you're talking about all the off the field? Is it? Is that real?
That was one of the first things that kind of stuck out to me is it feels like much more, I don't want to say college because it's not, but the focus is just football, you know what I mean? And going back and telling some people how kind of being around the Cowboys practice facility and game day, describing some of the interactions and stuff that you see on a day-to-day basis surprised a lot of people. They're like, holy crap, that actually happens at a practice facility, and it's just, you think it's normal, and then you come to a place like this.
Like what? You don't have to out anything, but what are you?
No, dude, it's just there's people literally going on tours while you're lifting in the weight room, and they've got a one-way mirror for people to look at. It's literally, it's a zoo, dude. There's people tapping on the glass, trying to get people's attention as they're doing, power cleans or whatnot, and you don't realize how many eyeballs and how much that can maybe distract from stuff just in the locker room, being in the facility, until you go somewhere else and you're like, holy crap, dude, there's none of that. This is also a really well run organization in Houston. And I think that was one of the things that kind of scared me about leaving Dallas the most, is I wasn't sure what another organization would kind of feel like. And dude, I got here and it was this place is a well-oiled machine.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about it. You heard Dalton Schultz there on the Lat McAfee Show, essentially talking about the culture issues that exist within the Dallas Cowboys organization. Now, the interesting part about this particular critique is the fact that I, for one, do believe that there are culture issues within the Dallas Cowboys organization. And this isn't the first time we've heard a player come out and talk about the zoo-like atmosphere at the Star, where the players practice for the Cowboys, with all the tours going on, and just the fact that the practice building is ran more so like a tourist attraction more than anything else, even during the times the players are actually there actively practicing, right? And therein itself is part of the culture issue that many of us Cowboys fans have identified. However, there is another side to this. We've now heard DeMarcus Lawrence come out and talk about how the noise around the team is tiring and it's mentally exhausting. We've heard former players for the Cowboys come out and talk about how there is a zoo-like atmosphere around the team. And now we hear Dalton Schultz, a player that's only a year removed from being a Dallas Cowboy, coming out and saying the same exact thing. Now, you could look at this as an obvious indication of how Jerry Jones has done everything he can to monetize every nook and cranny of this Cowboys organization and publicize every nook and cranny of this Cowboys organization. But you can also look at it another way, and that's the fact that there's a reason the Cowboys were not successful when they had certain players on their roster. And that's more so the angle we're going to talk about today, because Jerry isn't going anywhere. It's not going to do us any good to keep talking about, oh, Jerry Jones, Jerry Jones. Instead, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think that the noise around this Cowboys team would affect players like Chris Jones for the Kansas City Chiefs, the defensive tackle? Do you think that it would affect players like a prime Darrelle Revis? Do you think that it would affect players like a Patrick Willis? Do you think that it would affect players like a Patrick Mahomes? Do you really truthfully think that this type of thing, the fact that there are tours going on during practice and people can tap on the glass and watch you lift weights, do you think that that would really distract those types of players to the degree to where they couldn't perform in the biggest moments for the Dallas Cowboys? And moreover, do you think that those players would use accessibility to fans as an excuse for failure? Now, it's easy to pile on and just take any bit of criticism thrown the Cowboys organization way and take it for gospel and be like, yeah, I definitely see the value in what he's saying. And yes, there is some value in what he's saying. But we also got to pull back a little bit and realize that Houston Texans are the same organization that were an absolute dumpster fire under Bill O'Brien. They're the same organization that had 2 back-to-back head coaches on 1-year deals. They're the same organization that helped set up Deshaun Watson with some of those massage appointments and then blew his spot when he decided he wanted to get up out of Houston. They're the same organization that had people coming out talking about some of the racist tendencies of the owner. They're the same organization that just had a fan base literally crying out for a change in ownership just a couple of seasons ago because they were so poorly ran. So we're not going to sit here and act like that the Houston Texans are just some primo A+ organization when they haven't won a damn thing. People talk about the Cowboys. The Texans haven't won a damn thing in like their entire history. And they've been one of the most irrelevant franchises for the large part of the last 30 years in the entire NFL. So of course, there aren't going to be fans wanting to see what's going on. Of course, there won't be as many outside distractions or a lot of noise or a ton of media or everyone wanting to follow every move. Of course, because the organization is a bottom-feeding organization. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. At the end of the day, the Cowboys aren't doing anything much different from what other organizations that have histories and storied fan bases are doing. The Kansas City Chiefs, I can't confirm they're doing this while players are in the building or while they're working out, but other teams do have tours available. It's not just the Dallas Cowboys. So I guess what I'm saying is this right here is more of an indication of the fact that there is a certain type of player that this team needs to employ for them to be successful in this environment. Is this environment conducive to a successful workplace for just a casual NFL player that may not be as mentally strong as the next guy or may not be as adamant about playing football as the next guy? Maybe not. But is it possible to succeed in this type of environment? Yes, it is. We've seen Cowboys teams be successful in this very environment. In the 90s, there was a ton of noise going on around the Cowboys. They had music videos, radio shows. Jerry Jones was at the peak of his powers. Jimmy Johnson with the amazing sound bites and film and all kind of stuff coming out about that team. There was tons of distractions and noise around the 90s team. So I'm just going to say it's very hard for me to take stadium tours or practice facility tours is the main reason why the Cowboys can't be successful. And we also have to remember Dalton Schultz. You're someone that didn't have your head in the game. You didn't take care of what you could take care of. You didn't control what you could control on the field. I'm not going to sit here and just allow you to act like that the practice environment and the fanfare around the team is the reason the team fails. When we saw you catch the ball and then let yourself get hit backwards instead of fighting forward a little bit to actually stop the clock in a divisional playoff game against the San Francisco 49ers.
3rd and 1. That's not a chunk play, but it is a first down. It'll stop the clock with 27 seconds. No, they're going to wind the clock.
Yeah, you have to be going forwards if you're contacted going out of bounds. You got to fight through that contact.
We saw you yourself make several mental mistakes, whether it be drops leading to interceptions, which you did a couple times for CJ Stroud this season as well. We saw you do this, Dalton Schultz. You're not going to convince me that, oh, they stopped the practice tours. All of a sudden, everyone's going to perform when the big games come up. That should have nothing to do with how you perform in big moments. That should have nothing to do with how you perform at the most critical times. And we have to remember Dalton Schultz is also a guy that used to block any and everybody that had anything negative to say about him at all on X. Whereas a lot of guys that play for the Cowboys, they either ignore it or they just don't get on social media, right? They understand what comes along with it. So all this tells me about Dalton Schultz is that he wasn't the type of guy that we needed to be successful. And when we have these hunches about why the Cowboys can't be successful or why they can't get further, we try to avoid the conversation that some of these players just may not be built. They may not be built to be able to deal with the pressure. Some of these players may not be able to do what Dak Prescott can do and not care about social media, not pay attention to it, really limit his time on social media so he doesn't hear all of the noise. Some of these players can't ignore all of the noise going on. Hell, we're seeing Micah Parsons learn how to deal with it in real time. Some of these guys really can't deal with it. And I think this more than anything, this shows that the Cowboys may still have players on their roster that feels like this. And as long as we have players on our roster that feels like this, and we don't get dogs that are just like, I don't care who's watching, I'm about to knock somebody's head off, then we're probably never going to be successful as long as Jerry Jones is in the front office. And I don't usually get on these videos and defend the Cowboys culture or the organization, but I'm not really defending it. I definitely see where Dalton Schultz is coming from, but I'm also presenting the fact that this is a guy that's now playing for an organization that no one really cares about. He had a soft psyche when he was here with the Cowboys. It was clear that he couldn't deal with the criticism and the pressure of playing for the Cowboys, and now he's just further expanding upon some of the things that bothered him about playing with the organization, or some of the things that may have caused him more pressure for playing with the organization, because other than more pressure being applied, seriously, how is it that fans, because at some point all of you guys played in college, right? All of you guys played in high school, right? How is it that fans being accessible and being around the practice field or being near the players' practice facility during the time that they're practicing, how is that such a distraction that prevents you from being successful as a player? It's hard for me to believe that when all of these guys play for major D1 programs, and college fandom is much more passionate than NFL fandom. And college players have to deal with people having much more access to them than an NFL player would. So why would that access not bother you on the college level, but when you get to the pro level, all of a sudden that's a distraction? To me, that's nothing more than another excuse. The Cowboys are the most popular franchise in the entire country. So guess what? The Joneses are going to try to capitalize off of that popularity. They are going to monetize it. The team being uber successful on the business side shouldn't be used as an excuse for being disappointing on the actual football field. And that's just my only point. It's kind of getting weird hearing players consistently talking about that stuff, because at the end of the day, I don't care how you dress it up, it just comes off as mentally soft. DeMarcus Lawrence, even you making that comment about being mentally exhausted and all that stuff, the noise is going to be there. I can't argue on behalf of the players and talking about, oh, we got to stop the noise, because the noise isn't going anywhere. It's the Dallas Cowboys. It's the most profitable American franchise in all of sports. It's the most visible American franchise in all of sports. It's not going anywhere. You just have to have players that can deal with it. Either way, we still them same old Cowboys. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.